Welcome back to this week's video where we will be entering the first race of our WEC Experience Fixed Championship. It consists of hypercars and GT3s. We are driving the Ferrari GT3. We're at Interlagos, Brazil for a 1 hour 10 minute race. Just before we do get into it, if you do enjoy the content and you want to see how we get on in this championship, please do hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon so you can see when future races are released. But on that note, let's flick over and we hope you enjoy the race. Qualifying P13 then, and coming up through the first couple of corners. Got two cars in front going off, losing the back end. We do get a little love tap from the BMW there behind. However, moving up into P11, not too bad. If you keep an eye behind, you can see the Porsche carrying more momentum over the BMW, making a move at the inside, and then also trying to dive to the inside there and just driving straight into the side of me. Not very nice. BMW going through as well, trying to flash the Porsche to get his attention. Did block off that Mercedes behind as well. Aston Martin, should I say. However, Porsche let me back through, moving back up into P12. BMW getting a very wide line here, going up the inside, up into P10. 3 positions gained, not even halfway into the first lap, not too shabby. So just trying to settle in here, don't want to overheat the tyres too much. However, we do have damage on the front bumper and rear bumper. Not really sure how much that's going to affect our race pace. Hopefully not too much. But in a decent position at the moment. We need to get our heads down and focus really. Coming into the final corner then to complete the first lap, and we do have another 2 cars go off. So that pushes us up into P8. So a good first lap. Damage isn't really ideal, but hopefully it shouldn't keep us from putting in 2 good laps.
P8. Of us is Maxim.
Trying to close up on the back of the McLaren here then, and through the second phase of the corner it looks like we did get a little bit of a tighter line. McLaren drifting out wide a little bit. Have heard that with the McLaren, it does have a little bit of understeer compared to the Ferrari, so it might be the characteristics of the car we're seeing there. Taking a much wider line than the McLaren here, closing up nicely, down to 0.4. Be absolutely ideal if we could stay nice and close coming through this final corner here. Technically probably not the final corner, and get a bit of momentum on the McLaren down this long straight. So keeping an eye on the gap there, slowly dropping down. So we do have a little bit of extra speed over the McLaren, trying to keep in the slipstream here.
Just done 138.00.
BMW behind, sitting about 0.6, so he is keeping up pace at the moment. Doesn't look like he's pushing too hard trying to get past. Looking at a little move at the inside of the McLaren there, and I think I did make him run a little bit deep. Getting a much better exit, unfortunately having to let off the power a little bit here though, as couldn't really find a way around. So I did lose a bit of momentum down this long straight here, unfortunately. However, looking at the gap, 0.2, McLaren deciding to go for the defensive line into this corner. So that's allowing us to get on the brakes a lot later and take a nice line through that corner as well, so we can get a better exit. As you can see, got the momentum on the McLaren. Don't think I'm going to make a move here, but just pointing our nose down the inside. Cut the curb a little bit too much there. We do have a Ferrari off. Unfortunately, that does block the McLaren, so that does allow us to go through. McLaren actually going off track there. So up into P6. Hopefully with these few cars behind now, that should keep them distracted and allow us to pull out a little bit of a gap. Trying to keep it nice and tidy through here. Car's behind going out wide, so that should allow us to open up the gap there, as you can see, up to almost a second already. To let off the power a little bit through there, so losing a little bit of time. Could have probably been a little bit on later on the brakes there. Ferrari definitely getting a better entry to that corner. Closing up the gap a little bit. However, only 3.2 in front, dropping slightly. So let's see if we can get our heads down and catch up with the guys in front before they pull out too much of a lead. And let's focus on not allowing the guys behind past as well. As I say, with them all being so close, hopefully they should fight and we should be able to pull away. Jumping forward into the race then, as you can see, coming up about halfway through lap 5. Carrying a little bit too much speed into this corner here and very unfortunately losing the back end. Oh, you can see a couple of cars going past the front of us there, pretty close. Watching the replay back, that blue BMW was right across the nose of our car. So very unfortunate there, dropping down to P18, which is really not what we needed for our championship race. However, this does give us the opportunity to rack up the overtakes. So all we need to do now really is get our head down and just try and make as many positions back as we can. Hopefully, if we get our pit stop perfect as well, we can make a few positions that way as well. I will say, just for people watching the race, we do gain quite a few positions back. We definitely don't finish down in P18, so it is a very interesting race. Please do consider watching to the end. P18 then, coming up to the line for lap 6. Right on the back of this McLaren. Wondering if we can make a move up into this first corner, carrying much more speed than the McLaren down this back straight. So flicking to the outside, hoping that he'll drop in behind us. However, he does brake too late, pushing him deep, and we do the old switcheroo, slot right underneath him. Nice line through this corner. You can see the Porsche also running a little bit wide, so we do get right up on the back of the Porsche as well. Not sure if this is the Porsche that drove into the side of us earlier in this race. Looking at the inside then, Porsche letting us go through, however we had to run a little bit deep into the corner to make that move, so Porsche going back through again. Nice little batter here, did last a couple of corners. Porsche going very deep into that corner, similar to what I did last lap, however actually maintaining to keep the back end of the car in. So the McLaren behind, slotting in behind the Porsche, up 2 positions though. So let's keep our head down and try and catch up with P15 in front. Probably be jumping forward a little bit further in the race shortly. It was a very long race, so keeping the video not too long for you guys, I did do a couple of jumps throughout the race. Coming up to the line then to start lap 7, as you can see 1 hour remaining. Had quite a lot go on in the 10 minutes of the race that's passed. Still got an hour left to go. Hopefully nothing too more serious throughout the race, but yeah, let's see how we get on.
Okay Luke, come on, stay focused. Apexes and exits, apexes and exits, P15.
Someone into the pits then, which moves us up into P15. Jumping forward into lap 11, and you can see there we have caught up with the Mustang in front, which pushes us up into P14. So still got 50 minutes of the race left here. Quite a few laps left before we need to go into the pits. Making our way back up the order from P18 all the way back up into P14. So it's still a lot of time to make up some positions. Hopefully the cars in front shouldn't be too hard to pass, with them all sort of being so close together and fighting. However, we may be in for a little bit of contact, so I'm not too sure. To make sure we be careful. Closing right up on the Ferrari here then, taking a much tighter line. Do have a Ferrari on the apex of the corner there, facing the wrong way. In the process of turning around him, we did clip the front wheel. Now I was pretty paranoid here that I had a flat tyre, because the little orange marker come up. I think it was potentially just suspension damage. Didn't really seem to affect the car driving too much, so we did carry on. Didn't get that damage repaired in the pits either. However, up into P12 now. So steadily climbing up the order. P1 though, separated out by 26.6 seconds, so clearly having a very clean race. Diaz up front, also in the Ferrari. Now we're definitely quicker than this Ferrari up in front. However, he's making his car very wide, putting it in all the correct places for us not to be able to squeeze past. Both of them going wide here though, a little tap on the Ferrari there possibly. Fortunately, does have the inside line for this corner, so can't hang it around the outside. As you can see there, all the way to P1, this fighting is definitely losing his time. However, Ferrari running out wide then, can't really handle the pressure, and he swerves back on the track behind and does mess up the race a little bit of the guys behind, so they're losing a little bit of time, which does relieve the pressure on us. Jumping forwards to lap 16 then, as we were stuck behind this McLaren for a couple of laps. Tried to make a move up the inside there, but there was a little bit of contact, so I thought it was a bit unfair and did let him back through. Did lose a little bit of momentum there, letting him back through, and the Mustang behind, still relatively close, making a move at the inside. As you can see there, diving to the inside, carrying a lot more momentum than me. However, I think he was just way too late on the brakes. Both of us see that manoeuvre and just let him go off into the runoff. Carrying a lot more momentum than the McLaren through there then, with that Mustang going wide. So we are able to get up on the inside. However, McLaren getting a nice tight line through here and blocking off the switcheroo. McLaren taking a nice deep line through there. I was quite good on the brakes. It was quite hard to pass, hence why we were stuck behind him for so long. However, at this stage of the race, I think we do have a little bit more pace. So going at the inside there, probably pushing him a little bit wide. However, it's definitely a move we needed to make, and coming across the front of the McLaren there, just enough room to slot in front. So important move we needed to make there. We were stuck behind him for quite a few laps, using up our tyres. So now we're past, let's see if we can pull away. Hopefully with that Mustang being so close behind, it will keep him distracted and allow us to build up a little bit of a gap. Back up into P10 then. Quite a few laps till our pit stop, so let's settle in, see if we can catch up with P9.
That was 140.74.
Jumping forward again then to lap 21, and as you can see, close right up on the back of P9. Not too sure what was happening there, don't know if he was distracted or trying to let us through, but goes very deep into that corner and makes it a very easy overtake for us.
Okay, Luke, the next
Dropping all the way back to 0.7 seconds within about 2 corners. So 3 seconds up to Huben in front, slightly dropping down there, and probably getting a little bit of a better drive into that corner. However, we did just drop 2 wheels over the white line there, or sorry, all 4 wheels, so did get a little bit of a flick above the track limits, but not really getting in any time, so we don't get penalised. So settling in then, let's see if we can make some moves on P8. Got about 3 seconds up in front to try and catch, so we may be jumping forward again. So I'll see you on the next segment. Flicking forward to lap 23 then, or the end of lap 23. We are in P8, as we did have someone in the pits and we overtook them. As you can see there, another 2 cars running wide on that final corner, so moving up into P6. Do have about 10 laps left of fuel until we need to go into the pit stop, so let's see if we can make any more moves going forward.
P6.
Again, jumping forward slightly to the end of lap 24, start lap 25, we did stay behind this BMW, up into P5 now due to another pit stop again. Same thing seemed to happen here with the other BMW, where they just ran really deep. So making a little bit of contact through that corner as the speeds were quite different, so I did have to slow down a bit and lost a little bit of momentum. Taking the defensive line up in front then, However, even though we're not really far enough to make a move, just showing our nose, see if we can apply a little bit of pressure. BMW going out a little bit wide there, possibly thinking I was going to make a dive bomb. So he does not able to carry enough speed through that corner when we do make the pass up the inside. You can see behind the Ferrari is flicking all over that BMW, hopefully allowing us to pull away. But P4, 6 seconds up in front, got about 9 laps until we need to jump into the pits. So plenty of time for us to hopefully try and maintain this position before we actually need to go into the pits.
Is pitting from P26. It looks like
pretty good race then, starting from P13, dropping all the way down to P18 from where we spun out and back up into P4. Not without the help of a couple of different crashes though, but in an hour and 10 minute race, what are you expecting? Not everyone's going to be able to stay consistent throughout the whole period, especially with all the battling going on. It's quite a hard track, this one, very technical and slow in some of the corners. But we probably will be flicking forward again in a little minute, so I'll see you there.
P4.
Coming up to the start of lap 32 then, and as you can see, Jay Pren is in the pits in P3, so that allows us to go up into P3 as well. Hopefully we can maintain this position for the rest of this lap. The time still is increasing, so it looks as though he's currently still stopped at the moment. Do have a back marker coming out in front, the McLaren, so hopefully we can get past them nice and easily. We will be completing this lap, and then I think we'll be requesting our pit stop to go in. Not a bad position to be going into the pits. Obviously we will lose a couple of positions going into the pits as some of the cars behind haven't pitted. Some of them have already pitted as far as I'm aware. Definitely will lose the position back to Jay Pren, I think. So 17 minutes left of the race then. Not yet been into the pits and we're up into P3. Not too shabby. Got a predicted time of 42 laps. So still got about 10 more to go. Won't be putting too much fuel in.
Sector 3 is clear. The leader, Diaz, is pitting.
Trying to stay nice and consistent. Did fine through here as the race got further and further on. I couldn't actually keep it full throttle. So I don't know if it was the tyres overheating or just wearing out. So I do have about 1.5 laps left on our NRG, so just enough to complete the next lap before we need to go into the pits and get it filled up. Probably should have put our fuel ratio a little bit higher to make the electricity last a little bit longer. So requesting the pit stop then. We probably will be flicking forward again to us coming out of the pits, because I guess there's no point in you watching me in the pits. It's probably going to be a little bit boring. So as we're coming out of the pits, I will see you there.
The pit crew is ready.
Now, stupidly, coming out of the pit box, I didn't have my pit limiter on, and I sped. I went up to 44 miles an hour. So getting a drive-through penalty there. I will flick forward to us coming out of the pits after serving this. As you can see, they're very fortunate. We were in P3, and coming into the pits to serve that drive-through penalty, I thought I'd show you this as the little drive of shame. And we are losing quite a few positions, which is very unfortunate. So I think we would have been about P3, P4 had we not had this issue. But due to that stupid mistake, dropping all the way back down, making sure I didn't do it again. So penalty serve there. Coming out of the pits, we've got 21 seconds to P13, which is very annoying. We did drop all the way back down to essentially the position that we started in. So we've got 12 minutes to put our foot down and let's see how many positions we can make. It will mean hopefully we get a lot of overtakes, but it would have been a lot better if we had come out in P4. Potentially could have gone for a podium finish, but wasn't to work out that way. Maybe in the next championship race over at Kota we will be able to put in a better performance. However, I've never driven at that track before. I don't actually even have the DLC at the moment, so I probably will need to download it. and I'm only going to be able to have one attempt at that race as well, being Monday next week, as I am busy tonight, which is the first race that they've got. So looking like we are going to move up into P11 then, as we've got someone in the pits. So flicking forward to start lap 38, and we have gained on the guy in P10. We're very close behind him in the Porsche up in front, El Khaled. We've got Lime just in front of him, and then we've got Huben just in front of him as well. We've got 6 minutes left. Porsche very slow into that corner, so we are closing up nicely. Got our fuel spot on at the moment, got about 7.6 laps left. I think at the end of the race we did have a little bit of fuel, so probably overfueled a little bit. However, it's probably better to play it safe. Nice at the back of that Porsche, applying the pressure and making him run out wide just a little bit. So we do make a move up the inside there, trying to swoop back up on us, but we cover that off. Porsche running a little bit deep behind as well, so as all yellow flag flashing up in front, I wonder what is going on. Coming through into the final corner, can't really see too much going on, so it looks like it has cleared. However, got yellow flag flashing up again. Oh, so we've got a BMW, looks like they've stopped on the side of the track, just flashing them to let them know I'm going to come through. So if we can keep the pace going through here, looks like we can up into P9. So got a second up in front, let's see if we can keep up the pace and how close we can get. So I'll see you guys as we jump forward a little bit further into this race. About midway into lap 41 then, as you can see there, 1 minute 14 seconds left on the timer, and we're right on the back of Lime up in front, who was also closed up on P7. As you can see there, 1.9 and 3 seconds up in front to P6. Trying to hang on the back of these then, and we do have a BMW off track swooping across. We just managed to go around him, don't think there was any contact there. That could have been a race ending moment. Luckily we get through scot-free. We can see a massive gaggle of cars up in front. I think this ranges up to about P5, maybe even further up the order. So potential for a lot of chaos here, with everyone fighting so close to the end of the race. Now got a Ferrari up the inside of us, trying to go around the outside. Pretty sure it's a back mark, so hopefully let us through. Bunch of cars off in front though, swerving through there. Everyone losing a bit of momentum, so we managed to go around the outside of that BMW, but due to it being off track, we have to let him back through. Does swipe the front of that car just on the way through there. So holding off to not go back into the back of him again. However, we are right on the back of him. So I think this is going to be the final lap when we do cross the line. Yep, P1 is finished. Hanging on the back of this BMW then, and let's see if we can make a move coming up into this final corner. Do have P7, 0.6 seconds behind us, Shuck Smith. So do need to ensure that we hold him off as well. Nice and close to the BMW, trying to keep our lines as tight as possible, trying to lose as little time as possible to this BMW. Does have a lot more fuel potentially, so hopefully we can carry more speed. Now BMW behind flashing his lights, and it does look as though it puts this guy off in front. So we do get a slightly better exit. I'm not sure, it looks like he came off the throttle there, lost a bit of momentum. As you can see, they're just creeping ahead. Now he was turning into the side of us as he was doing this. I don't know if he's trying to slow us down. However, we do just pip ahead and we come across the line in P5. So not too bad. let's
Okay,
flick
pit
over
stop
to the
requested.
results and see how we've done over there and what the championship standings are looking like. Looking at the results then, you can see they're finishing in P5 with a lap time of 1:37.890, which wasn't too far off the quickest lap of the race. Then flicking over to the championship standings, you can see we're in P141 with a total amount of points of 194. So hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did and you want to see how we get on along this journey, please do consider hitting that subscribe button down below. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy.